Thank you, Dr. Amrita, and thank you, Dr. Madan Tangwalu and Mr. Benny Thomas. I know Mr. Benny Thomas for many years, and many times I wanted to write down any article for his magazine, but I could not do that. But 3 days back, when he contacted me that okay, we are going to organize one small webinar by this Ayush Valley Foundation, so I agreed that I would be there. And since Dr. Madan is also there, and Madan is our own WhatsApp friend, and otherwise also. So friends, I think the topic which has been chosen for this webinar, that is, I think, validation and documentation. Yes. Validation and documentation. So what I wanted to convey, I would start from a small story that how important this validation is, how important this documentation is. In 2006, I had the opportunity to visit Geneva to attend World Health Assembly along with my minister. And in the hotel where we stayed, that was an intercontinental hotel, a 7-star hotel. And the general manager of that hotel, he came to know that some Ayurveda doctor from India has come as a part of Indian delegation. So I was in my room, and suddenly I got one slip that was inserted into my room, and there was a request from the general manager that I wanted to meet you regarding my health problem. Now, so that general manager, he was consuming a lot of alcohol, and his liver was a problem. Liver problem was there. And he told me very frankly that I have tried best of the medicines, best of the doctors, and best of the hospitals, but the condition is deteriorating. And he was a technical person, basically. He was a scientific person, but by virtue of his qualification and by virtue of his interest, he was working as a general manager in that hotel. So he invited me to his room, and then we discussed, and I saw all his papers and all the medical records. Then since we were in the World Health Assembly, we had carried some medicines we had carried along with us, Ayurveda medicines, and we were about to organize one exhibition of Ayurveda products for the health ministers of the world. Because I think more than 190 health ministers from the world, they were there. So our minister wanted that let us organize small exhibition for them, and we will a sort of some seminar also. So I was having with me some Ayurveda medicine. So after taking the detailed history, then I prescribed him one particular medicine, and that is very well known. I will not tell you the name of that medicine. I will also not tell you the name of that company. So he was given that medicine out of the samples I was having. And then since we stayed there only for 5 days and we came back, I told him that, okay, you can take this medicine for about 3 weeks and tell me the response. And I prescribed him certain do's and don'ts also, means the lifestyle guidelines and what to eat, what not to eat, all those kinds of things. So exactly after 3 weeks, means early in the morning when I reached office and opened the email, there was a news, means a very good news that okay, all his parameters, means that liver profile, all these parameters that came down, and he was happy, and he thanked me, and that okay, doctor, now the medicine exhausted, so can you send it? Okay, no problem. So from India, I got those medicines dispatched and by courier, and then so he started consuming those medicines continuously with the hope that he will recover from that problem. Now friends, now the story starts here. So when the second time, when those medicines were sent to him and he consumed those medicines, he told me that I did not get the same effect. The same effect he did not get, but he was a technical person. What he did, he was very smart. So he started adjusting the dose of the medicines. I had prescribed 2 tablets in the morning, 2 in the evening. So what he did, because next time that response was not there, so what he did, he started consuming 3 tablets. I think he might have consulted some laboratory. He might have got those medicine tested. And when the next time when the email came to me, again, that doctor, medicine worked, but I had to change the dose. I had to change the dose. The packing was same. Everything was same. And this happened many times. And the next batch, when it was given to him, again said, doctor, no, I could not consume 3 tablets morning and evening. I had to reduce the dose back to 2. So story is the importance of validation. So that means during the process of manufacturing of that medicine, I think the steps, the processes which are required for having a quality product, those steps, I think those were not fully followed. So when we say that validation, what is validation? I was just wondering that what is going to be discussed in this webinar, validation and documentation of Ayurveda. So just out of my curiosity, I just opened the Cambridge Dictionary. Now what Cambridge Dictionary says, what is validation? It says, act or process of making something officially or technically or legally acceptable or approved. Very simple definition. Validation is an act or a process to make something officially acceptable or legally acceptable or technically acceptable or approved. Very simple definition. So in other words, it means we need to generate a proof that, okay, whatever we are expecting, that is correct. So that outcome means that could be in terms of efficacy, it could be in terms of safety, it could be in terms of quality of the product, right? So validation, if you see, there are 4 different kinds of this validation process. One is prospective validation, then the retrospective validation, then the revalidation, and then the concurrent validation. I think Ayurveda needs all the 4. Ayurveda needs all the 4 types of validation. So now in our country, like the country of origin of Ayurveda, India, if you see the support, the kind of support Ayurveda is getting from the government, I think it is a very important support is being given to Ayurveda and other Indian systems of medicine and homeopathy. And if you go back to 1947, when India became independent, at that time, the policy support was there, but it was a tolerant policy. There was no regulations, there was no standardization, there was no R&D. I think it was only that, okay, just promote Ayush and propagate Ayush, but not on scientific basis. Not on scientific basis. So in 1969, I think somehow the government of India took a very conscious decision, and a Central Council for Research in Indian Systems of Medicine and Homeopathy that was set up. It was an integrated council for all the systems, all the systems of Indian medicine, Ayurveda, Siddha, not Siddha, Ayurveda, Unani, homeopathy, yoga, and naturopathy. So, and in the next 10 years, and that point of time, I think in 1969, there was a lot of collaboration between the scientific experts of the other system. And if you see the history of ICMR, Indian Council of Medical Research, I think it was basically meant for research in traditional medicine. If you see the original documents of conceptualization of Indian Council of Medical Research, but later on it did not happen. And much of the work which we today acclaim, that was done by ICMR, the validation of certain medicinal plants like Bijesar. No, the BJs are. Similarly, this Ayush 64, which we claim that, okay, it also has antiviral effect, and initially it was for anti-malaria effect. Then there are some other for calculus also, for urinary calculi also. But later on, this kind of work was not carried forward. And then in 1978, there were, from out of one council, 4 councils were set up. Center Council for Research in Ayurveda and Siddha, Center Council for Research in Unani Medicine, Center Council for Research in Yoga and Naturopathy, and Center Council for Research in Homeopathy. And in 2010, that Ayurveda and Siddha Research Council, that was bifurcated, and the new council came in the form of Center Council for Research in Siddha. So today we have 5 research councils, and all the 5 research councils, they have around 85 field units. The national institutes or the central institutes or the collaborative research institutes across the country. Now, the thing is, the direction for research, the direction for validation. What kind of validation? Means when we say validation, it means we have to ensure reproducibility. Now, that reproducibility, that is the big question. And that is the basic problem in our research. That is the main question, because as I told you the story, this story of that medicine which I gave to that person in Geneva. Now, it means whatever we are doing, we are claiming that, okay, this is a validation, but again, that is not the confirmation. That is not the confirmation, and we must appreciate that what is validation and what is scientific documentation. Means what happened and what did not happen, all that has to be appreciated. So we always normally in the during the course of scientific writing or during the course of this the validation reports, we always claim that, okay, what actually happened, what actually did not happen, that also need to be reported, that also needs to be documented. Now today the whole world is looking towards integrative medicine. Now we understand that in the healthcare there are a lot of gaps are there. We are failing to meet the health needs of the people across the globe. There are many disease conditions, there are many stages of the disease conditions where there are no answers, no solutions are there. But by coming together means, I think that is by promoting integrative medicine, those gaps can be bridged, those gaps can be narrowed down. Now the problem is, we have a knowledge base, Ayurveda has a knowledge base, strong knowledge base, and there is another knowledge base that is of modern science, modern medicine. There is another basis there. Now, what I feel, that there are 2 streams of knowledge, and these 2 streams are actually, these are the 2 banks of the knowledge, 2 banks of the knowledge of river. Now, river is flowing. One group of people is standing on this side, is this bank of the river, and the other group of people, they are standing on the other bank of the river. Now, do you think that merging is possible? Merging is possible, but merging of the knowledge. Ayurveda knowledge should remain Ayurveda knowledge. The modern knowledge should remain the modern knowledge, but they can be brought together. They can be, means that their distance can be narrowed down, and for narrowing down that distance between the 2 knowledge systems, I think the intense research activities are required, all these validation activities, and not only this validation, and the validation has to be done in a way that must have translational value. In our country and even outside the country, lot of work is being done on Ayurveda, but it is documented. But those documents, they are kept in the Almirah. From those documents, the products, the outcomes, they are not available to the people. They are not available to the doctors, to the practitioners. This is the thing. At the individual level, I think wonderful things the people, practitioners, our scientists, they are doing. Most of the CSIR scientists, ICMR scientists, they might have done a lot of things on traditional, our traditional practices, traditional medicine, other things. But all they have taken the patent, or they might have written a good a paper in a peer-reviewed journal, but that is kept in the Almira. Means there is no use for the industry to make products out of the, or to bring in those outcomes, those scientific outcomes in the treatment protocols, in the treatment protocol. So integrated treatment protocols are required. No, in our country, as I told you that right from the beginning, there has been policy support from the government. Initially, it was a tolerant policy. Then in 70s, 80s, there was an integrated policy support. If you see the health policy of the country of 1983, it talks about integration of Indian systems of medicine and homeopathy in the national healthcare programs and in the national healthcare delivery system. But practically means nothing happened. Nothing happened. Then in 1978, when this Alberta Declaration was made, so during that declaration, there was a lot of focus on traditional medicine. And it was emphasized in that declaration that without incorporating traditional medical systems in the national healthcare delivery system, any country cannot achieve the goal of health for all. It was very categorical, because the traditional medicine, it is culture friendly, it is eco-friendly, socially acceptable. And another thing is the traditional medical practices or the traditional health practices or the traditional remedies, they are meant for primary prevention of the risk factors. Primary prevention, not the secondary prevention, primary prevention. And it also helps in modulating lifestyle. This is the strongest point of traditional medicine, to modify, to modulate the lifestyle factors. In other system, I think that kind of strength is not there. So we need to tap this potential. We need to tap this strength of the system, that okay, lifestyle, individualized treatment, personalized treatment, customized treatment. It is not stereotype treatment in Ayurveda. So means, but for that we need to create objective evidence. And the most of the evidences which we have, they are subjective. So objective evidences are required. I think the think tanks like Dr. Madan Thengvelu and those like Dr. Suresh and those who are present across the globe, whether they are in India or in UAE or in Germany or in any other country, I think we need to develop a network of experts, those who can work on these lines. And after some time, I think if a good document could be brought out, if it could be published, I think that would be very, very useful, not only for the medical fraternity, but also for the policymakers. Because policy, unless the things are brought under the policy, they can never be implemented. They can never materialize. So the policy is the starting points. So from the policy, then the regulations start. If you have the policy, then the regulation, then the enforcement starts. So means for the policymakers, we need to generate documents which could be useful. But otherwise, what will happen at the individual level? Wonderful work, very good works the people they are doing, but that has to be put together, and then that act is again need to be validated. Again, so validation, it is a continuous process. So I think that would be a sort of a retrospective validation, that means the analysis of the or assessment of the accumulated results of these studies, what you will do over a period of time. And after that, the document which will be published or which will be brought out, I think that would be useful for the medical fraternity as well as to the policy. But I think it has to be done. I think that now the time has come that the concept of integrative medicine, that needs to be translated into action. Now, I frankly speak that presently the integrative medicine, it is a hypothetical proposition. But if you see the rights and privileges of the practitioners, they are very divergent. Now, the modern medical doctor in India, they cannot prescribe Ayurvedic medicine. Similarly, Ayurvedic doctor cannot prescribe modern medicine. So how will ensure integrative medicine? And the cross system referral is not there. It's not there. Why it is not there? Because the one set of practitioners, they do not know the strength of the other system. They are totally ignorant. And if you see the integration in our country, it is only the physical integration. There is no functional integration. Even at the educational level, now in the Ayurveda course curricula, the 40% of the course curriculum, it is of modern medicine. But if you see the other way around, in the MBBS course curriculum, there is nothing of traditional medicine, nothing of Ayurveda. Only just last year or 2 years back, I think something has been conceptualized that some modules of Ayurveda, they will be taught. But again, those are voluntary. Those are not mandatory. So these are the issues. I think we need to ponder over these issues and address these issues. When we do the validation, along with that, this scientific writing, I think that also has to be very, very appropriate in accordance with the global trends, in accordance with the global. Because unless we convince the global fraternity, the things are not going to change. The people, they are using Ayurveda across the globe. Ayurveda has gone to every nook and corner of the world. But it is because of its preventive and promotive healthcare approach. They are not adopting the medicines, because if they say that the medicine, they want to see the medicine in the same shape, in the same form, and to have the same kind of effect as you have the pharmaceutical drugs. But through integrative. So means the practitioners outside India, within India, I think they need to explore the opportunities for integrative medicine, and that is the only answer to meet the health needs of the people. So with these words, I again thank the organizers, Dr. Thangwelu, Dr. Amrita, and Mr. Thomas, Benny Thomas, that they invited me and gave me the opportunity to share my views with you. Thank you very much.
Hello, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Katoch, for taking us into the heart of many of the deep issues. Now, I'm going to take two questions here. We have one of your old colleagues, Sri Balaprasad ji, who's here with us. And if I can share, if I can get Dr. Balaprasad ji to share, to ask his questions. Balaprasad ji, you are able now to ask the questions. Hello. Balaprasad ji, please.
Yes.
Okay.
First of all, I thank the organizers to inviting Dr. Katoch, because last webinar I had pointed out that a representative from the government should be called in, so that the whatever achievement has been done, that should be conveyed to the people. So I thank organizers for inviting him. Second point, I like to tell all the listeners that Dr. Katoch is advisor from last 6 years. So he was joint advisor 6 years back. So that initial thing. But I have two questions to Dr. Katoch.
Sir, I think my joint is still continuing, because the hospital is Triveni Hospital, so they are working on joint disorders. So joint was retained there.
But anyway, that is a small thing issue. But you are, in fact, you should be called as a super advisor from my side. It should be like that. So, Dr. Katoch, I would like to add. Please tell the audience also about the status of pharmacopoeial standards developed.
Okay, fine.
Number one. Number two, if you remember, there was efforts made in around 2014 onwards for the validation of the classical Ayush drugs.
Yes.
So those two aspects, please, you are more up to date. So please, my request is that please convey to the people here. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I think very two important points our former colleague Shri Bala Prasad ji has raised. When I came back from WHO in 2011, I tried to work on three particular aspects. Number one means in India, I think more than 28,000 dispensaries are there, government-run dispensaries, and then more than 3,500 government hospitals are there, Ayurveda hospitals or other system hospitals. So we could develop essential drug list of each system. Essential drug list of Ayurveda, essential drug list of Unani, essential drug list of homeopathy, and Siddha system of medicine. Now, these essential drugs, they have been taken from the authoritative books and from the Pharmacopoeia and from the formulary of India. So this is one important point. I think these essential drugs must be referred by the practitioner across the globe that, okay, what are the essential drugs in Ayurveda? Secondly, I also worked on insurance coverage to Ayush treatment, particularly Ayurveda treatment. And I am happy to share with you today that today 147 insurance policies are there which cover Ayush treatment. And 27 insurance companies, they have offered these policies, health insurance policies for Ayush treatment. And recently, just last about 6 months back, we have revised the insurance guidelines. So even at the daycare center, Ayush treatment can be availed and the beneficiary can get the insurance coverage. At the daycare center, even for daycare of Ayurveda, so that has been made applicable. And now we are looking towards this Ayushman Bharat under this Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. So we have made around 289 Ayurveda treatment packages, and we have given to National Health Authority that these should be included in the basket of this health insurance packages which are under this Ayushman Bharat. So simultaneously, another thing has happened that under this Ayushman Bharat, you know that health and wellness center concept means to promote preventive healthcare and the promotive healthcare. So for that purpose, one-tenth of the health and wellness centers across the country, means 12,500 health and wellness centers, those are going to be run exclusively by Ayush. So Ayurveda doctors will be there, Ayurveda practices will be promoted through those centers, and this is another thing. And another point which our senior colleague Mr. Bala Prasad ji raised, that regarding this Pharmacopoeia. Now, recently the government has appointed me as the director of Pharmacopoeia Commission of Indian Medicine and Homeopathy. So the work of Pharmacopoeia, it started in 1964. The first Pharmacopoeia committee that was constituted in 1964, and as on date, now we have Pharmacopoeia committee for every system, and around 645 medicinal plants, means which are used in Ayurveda system of medicine, their standards are given in the Ayurvedic Pharmacopoeia, and 252 formulations. Now the formulations in Ayurveda, the formulation is very complex, like Chavanprash. Chavanprash are around 48 ingredients. So even those kinds of formulations, those have been standardized and they have been put in the Pharmacopoeia. So Pharmacopoeia standards are there. Similarly for the Unani and homeopathy and the Siddha system, the Pharmacopoeia work. And recently government has taken a decision that now this Pharmacopoeia Commission of Indian Medicine and Homeopathy, now that has become part of the government. Now it is subordinate office of Ayush and Health, Ministry of Ayush. So previously it was an autonomous organization, but now it is fully part of the government. Just like in China also the Chinese Pharmacopoeia Commission that is seated, that is accommodated in Ministry of Health there. So similarly, under Ministry of Ayush, now we are going to have this Pharmacopoeia Commission of Indian Medicine and Homeopathy, and the two central laboratories, Pharmacopoeia Laboratory of Indian Medicine and the Homeopathic Pharmacopoeia Laboratories. These have been merged into the Pharmacopoeia Commission, and now the new laboratory, the renewed laboratory of the Pharmacopoeia Commission, that would be the central appellate laboratory under the provisions of the drugs and cosmetic rules. So these are the few developments which have taken place in the recent past, and I think these are going to change the scenario and the future scenario of this Ayush sectors. And we are now thinking that our pharmacopoeia monographs, these should be compatible with the pharmacopoeia monographs of the US. So we are in constant interface with the US Pharmacopoeia Convention. And so harmonization work, a revision of the monographs, so that work has started. So these are the few important initiatives which we have taken. So one is that insurance coverage, second is essential drug list, and through the essential drug list we are providing support to the state governments for procurement of medicines for the hospitals and dispensaries, and another is this standardization work.
Katochji, thank you so much. You have given us more information here in reply to Balaprashadji. There is one other question that has come to us, that is coming to us from Vidya Shankar ji. Vidya Shankar, you are able to,
yeah.
Are you able to hit, connect?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
we can
yes.
hear you. Thank you. Please do introduce yourself. We're curious to know where you are from.
Yeah, my name is Vidya Shankar. I'm from Bangalore. I'm a scientific editor. My question to Dr. Katoch is, I think we lack in Ayurveda, what we have seen is we lack efficient clinical trials. So generally what we see is we try to fit in the randomized placebo-controlled trials. But I believe that the trials which are designed to test purified drugs, usually a single component drugs, cannot be applicable for an Ayurvedic drug, or rather I would say a treatment regime, because Ayurveda doesn't only include just a single drug. So is the Ayush Ministry working at developing a scientific based clinical trials especially for testing Ayurvedic or homeopathic drugs?
Mr. Vidya Shankar, I think this is not the job of the government. It is the job of the scientists that what kind of protocols and how the studies are designed. It is for them to decide. So whatever is feasible, I think for the research study on Ayurveda, I think within the emerging trends, means the global trends for research, I think that can be done, but it all depends upon the scientists, on the investigators, those who are going to make the protocols, design the study. It is not the job of because the government can only support, government can only facilitate the things. So the policy is very clear, and recently during this COVID-19, just to facilitate the clinical trials on Ayush interventions, so that is why we issued a notification, Gazette notification, that okay, how the clinical trials could be done, means what are the requirements. So we said that okay, if there is an institutional ethics committee clearance is there, then the CTI registration is there, if the standard protocol is there, and if the team, research team, must have a Ayush expert. Without Ayush expert, I think there should not be any clinical trial on Ayush intervention. So in the project team, there must be one Ayush expert, clinical expert of that system. So this kind of facilitation that has been done by the government, and the support is also there, financial support. We have extramural research scheme in the Ministry of Ayush. I'm heading that scheme. I'm in charge of that scheme. So we called many proposals, but again the thing is, somewhere the protocols are not proper, somewhere there is no ethical clearance from the institutional ethics committee. So these are the issues. So research has to be done as per the international trends, as per the international conventions. Otherwise the outcomes of the research, the so-called research, I think that would not be acceptable to the scientific fraternity. So for that, we have to follow all those trends, like whether it is GCP or whether it is ethical guidelines, whatever. But as per the other thing, similarly for the testing of the drugs in the laboratory, the preclinical studies, other thing, I think the OECD guidelines. So all this is in the hands of the researchers, in the investigators. It is not in the hands of the government.
Thank you. Thank you, Katochji. Very, very important point. Now, I do want to add here to Vidya Shankarji that as you are in Bangalore, I invite you to join all of us and at the Transdisciplinary University with the team at the TDU, so that we can discuss this point in greater detail, what you are offering and what I think the reply we've had from Katochji also points to some difficulties in terms of how we design our studies. And if you come together with us, we'll welcome you in Bangalore, and maybe at a convention we can have Katochji again to address these issues and refine our thinking.
Madanji, just I want to make a very conclusive statement.
Please.
As I said that the river of knowledge is there, and the people, they are standing on two opposite banks of the river, right? Now the marriage is not possible. Marriage between these two people, that is not possible. What we can develop, live-in relations. We can develop live-in relations. So live-in relations, I think those need to be developed. Then we can move forward.
I think you've highlighted, Katochji, you have highlighted that point very nicely by saying the Alma Ata Declaration and the demand for health for all. And that will come from many aspects of the prevention of disease and health promotion. And these are very important areas, so that if we take care of those early steps, there is no need for curing the disease. And we will take, so there is a deep biology behind this, and Thomas Verghese Thomas, who's here, he will point us to how they are developing experimental systems to take care of that early aspect, so that we don't need too much of the curative side. Instead, we can take care of the health maintenance, the health promotion, disease prevention aspects. We are very interested in looking at the biology of Dinacharya, Ritucharya, and so these are all areas where we feel Ayurveda and the Ayush thinking will guide future research in biology, in medicine, in medical research, in a new way of thinking about health instead of health care, so that we think a little more about, you know, the richer aspects of Ayurveda. There is so much information in the Samhitas, very deep concepts of Ritus, Ritu Sandhi, and all these concepts, which are very, very important, because it's only now we are understanding how the complex human biology works, or the gut microbiome, how they influences the immune system, and how many formulations you have within the Ayush system. So we are grateful for that. Number two, a very important point you have raised here, which we were not completely aware about, is the insurance modalities. And what you're offered us, I hope will become a part of another webinar for us, you know, that we didn't know the scale. I was aware of when Sharanji was secretary, that he had brought together the insurance companies and he had made some things, but I wasn't aware of the scale of this operation now. So maybe we will request you to come back to us at some point so that we can discuss this whole area of insurance policies and how it is being developed and how it's being driven. So I'm very grateful that Bala Prasad ji is here with us. He is with us every time in all our sessions, and he has raised a very important set of questions that has opened up a lot of new knowledge that and insights and workings that we were not aware of. So we are grateful for your answers and your very detailed and elaborate answers. And we are also grateful for the question about Ayurveda specific or Ayush specific design of studies. Vidya Shankarji, we welcome you to join us and discuss this further at the Valley, at the Ayush Valley. And also we will create the platform where these questions can be raised again and discussed in detail.
Dr. Madan, one point I would like to say that we need to have very clear distinction between verification and the validation.
Thank you.
Verification means the evaluation. I think what we are doing only evaluating our drugs. I think we need to do the validation. Validation means assurance of the potential of our products.
Thank you. Thank you for pointing out this very important point. One of our Verghese Thomas will touch on this point. You know, if you take a complex formulation and a very important formulation like Brahmi Grita, how do we know how this works? How do we know this works? You know, and how can we provide that evidence? So the most recent example was the Nobel Prize for China for artemisinin and how artemisinin works. You see what is the anti-malarial aspect of artemisinin? So a location like the Transdisciplinary University, together with all the organizations, the Central Council of Ayurveda and the CCRA organizations, I think we can form a very robust platform, and the Valley will be very excited to catalyze these interactions and activities so that we can put some more thinking in this space. So I'm very grateful, Dr. Katoch, for throwing so much light onto many aspects that have all growing to a level of prominence where we need separate events. So we will discuss this among ourselves and also come to you for your opinions on the key areas where we can come together again for webinars. And thank you, Balaprasad ji, for giving the correct title, not just advisor, but super advisor. So thank you so much, Katoch ji. Please stay with us if you can for the next